Well, hey, welcome back into Live at Liberty. This is the final episode of the season. I feel like this season has been going for like 2 years.
Yeah, it feels really long.
We've covered a lot of heady, deep topics.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of why it feels so long.
Yeah, this has been the biggest undertaking, I think, in terms of content and material and all kinds of whatever we've discussed in the last 4 months. So we've come a long way since January.
We've covered a lot of ground, man. So in this episode, we're going to talk about gambling and investing. This is another one of those truth over trends topics that we had sent in. Both are risky. So if they're both risky, are they equally as sinful from a biblical perspective? We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. And we've got a lot of kids and accomplishments. Man, we're in graduation season, and so you got award season going on. And since this is the last one, there's probably a whole lot of those that we're going to miss, that kids get awards and all that kind of stuff. We're going to try to.
So congratulations to everybody from here on out on whatever.
If you did well, way to go. Right? So, congrats all summer to you. But, so Sunday was, big crowd on Sunday. A lot of really good things happening. We had baby dedication, Mother's Day, a lot of things happening Sunday. I loved it because even though we only had two, we do two Mother's Day or two baby parent dedications a year. So we only had two this round. And even though it was two, man, those are two that this church has prayed for a lot. That was really special.
From before those babies were born, we were praying for those babies. Yeah. So.
And tell us a little more. So you got rid of the pennies because there are no more pennies,
no
right?
No more pennies. I can't go to the bank and buy pennies for my penny jars.
So you gave them this box. Explain a little bit more what's in it. I don't think people could see what was in it.
Okay.
And tell us a little bit more about how it came
very
about.
Nice.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's a keepsake prayer box. And listen, and that came through at least a month, maybe longer, of just praying. Like, what is a gift? It's just a gift. And I understand. But what is a gift that I can love on these families, I can encourage these families, but it'll be impactful in their raising their child to walk with the Lord, and that I can set them up for success with it. And so this prayer box, I felt like it was one of those in the middle of the night, like the Lord just gave me something, and so I just took it for a couple of days, not really sure what he was pointing me to, or really even I didn't even attach it to the baby dedication and the gift or anything till a couple of days later. I was just looking through Amazon and some stuff, and it just clicked. Everything clicked with me. But so when we did the penny jars, we're really focused on the time that's passed.
Yeah,
like time that's passed, and this. I feel like what the Lord had shared with me was like, be intentional with the time that you do have. So instead of focus on the time that's passed, and it was talking about investing.
Yeah.
How we invested our pennies or our time with our
Convergence
kids.
of
There
things.
you go.
Yeah.
So, but this is more like, but my prayer is that at the end of the 18 years is that this box becomes more than just, hey, this is my prayer box. But it's more of how you see the story developed of how God was faithful to answering those prayers, to the things that they trusted the Lord with, and how he provided. And so like that. So Nicole come up to me right after church. She's like, and she had tears, and I told her,
I saw her
said,
tearing up.
well, listen, I told her,
I looked
said,
out, there's all kinds of women crying.
Between that and the Mother's Day video,
Yes.
everybody was in their feels Sunday.
So I told Nicole, I said, you were the one person I made sure to avoid eye contact with, because the pennies always got her. But she said, I just didn't think that you could one up the pennies, but you did it. And so,
it was really good, really good. And man, you love seeing those babies anyway. And those both of them are so little.
Oh yeah.
So, and sometimes people out there, of course we do pictures before and all that kind of stuff, but, people can't see it. When they came up there, Olivia was sound asleep. She was out until she got up on the stage.
Yep.
And she's just holding her. She's like taking a nap. And then finally she kind of wakes up and looks at me. And then Jake's little boots. Oh, man, those are awesome.
Oh, but when he turned while you were talking and was just wide-eyed, focused on you, that got me. That cracked me up.
And there was some stuff he's up there and he's doing his head like this, like, nope.
I think he was sleepy, too.
Yeah.
I think he was fighting it.
He probably was as well. All right, so Sunday was a really, really good day, just all the way around. So let's say happy birthday to some people. And here's one of those families of the dedication, Harmony Ray.
Yep.
May 13th is her birthday. So, man, what a great week. Mother's Day, dedication, and Harmony's birthday. So, J. Ray, you better get something good for her this week, right? She deserves it. David Smith on May the 13th. Christy Bennett on May the 13th as well. Donna Ridley on the 14th. Nathan Pendergrass, my cousin, on the 15th. How about old Shannon Branham?
Yep.
May the 18th. And she always has a little birthday group because Shannon, Kim Daly, and Michelle Koneman all have the same birthday. So we've done several years of fun things with them over the last couple of years celebrating the birthday. So happy birthday to all y'all. No anniversaries. Apparently, nobody but Kylie got married in May. So
I will say, since this is the last week of the podcast for this season, I'm going to go ahead and wish my wife a happy birthday and a happy anniversary, because May 22nd,
Wise.
when we got married, and May 31st is her birthday. So
okay,
happy all of those things.
yeah, y'all got married on Morgan's birthday. She's a May 22nd, so that's good stuff. So, and happy birthday to all you summer birthdays like me. I'm July,
and
me. So there's. Lots of birthdays that we'll miss, but it's not that we don't care. It's just that we can't keep doing this all summer long. So we got to tend to some other things, and then we'll be back in the fall. So let's do some shout-outs. Jude Gwynn, man, teammate of the year as voted by his teammates at North Murray Baseball. So, and this what's really cool about Jude. I've known his dad my entire life. And there have been times I have mentioned some formative men in my life in younger years, and I've mentioned Jerry Joe Gwynn as a Sunday school teacher. And I always tell the story. There's a group of boys that we would promote, and he would promote and teach us the next year. That's his grandfather, is Jerry Joe Gwynn. Yeah, so it's really cool to see them come into the church and see Jude and Paul. Man, it's really cool, really neat. So, but yeah, I've known Paul Gwynn my whole life. Evan Hood, man, Evan, he is a pitcher up at Shawnee State in Portsmouth, Ohio. I think he's in his junior year. He's the same group as Bronson Barr and all that group. But I watched him on YouTube last week. They're in the
he's famous.
Yeah, they're in the playoffs right now. So he is the son of Scott and Winona Hood, and man, he has a 1.76 ERA.
I don't even know what that means, but that sounds impressive.
That means he's doing all right.
Really good.
That means he's doing really well.
Congratulations.
Yeah, he's got 2 saves this year, and they are in the Upland Regional, has an elimination game today. So, man, y'all can tune in online and watch him pitch up there. But Evans had a really good junior season. How about old Mason Hendricks? Finishing out his, he's 8th grade, right?
Yeah, but you can fish with the high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I saw the
we'll
North Murray shirt, so I figured that maybe that was the case. So
Yeah.
he's finishing out his 8th grade fishing season, which means you're right in there with the big boys too, right?
Yep.
But apparently did pretty well. Learned some things. Hey, he caught some fish.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
That's better than me most times.
Yeah.
He's got some pictures with some really nice bass on there.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you what I catch when I go fishing, and that is nothing. So he whipped me, and that's the way to go, Mason.
And one of the most recent times that I went fishing, I caught my father-in-law's nicest lure on the tree behind me.
Oh, man.
And I think he was mad at me for about 2 weeks after that.
Hey, listen, I can say from my boys
Yeah, you just
fishing,
went fishing too.
Well, but my boys did the tournament fishing the whole time too. Fishing's expensive.
It's very
Yeah.
expensive,
And it
because of
takes all
that.
day. too.
Because of that right there.
especially when you
Yeah.
catch nothing.
People like me coming with you.
Throwing the really nice lures into the trees.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, just going around the lake, walking around some ponds, if you find the right tree and you can get up in it,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can get a lot of lures
Yeah.
out of there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, but and then Abigail Hendricks, she competed in track this season, ran the 4x100 relay and the 100-meter for Bagley, and she finished first in both events in her very first track meet. So how about Abigail? She's gonna be fast. Tate Albertson and Grayson Ridley, they played for the 10 and under party animals. Now,
What?
Yeah. So this tells you how things have changed. Because when I was growing up, man, you always wanted to be the Braves or the Phillies. As always the MLB teams was the Little League teams. Now it's the Savannah Banana teams.
Okay.
The Party Animals is one of the Savannah Banana franchise teams.
I'm tracking.
So that's amazing. So that. No longer do we want to be MLB teams. We want to be one of the banana ball teams.
Man, when Nora played softball her first year, it was like they went all year without a team name, and then their last game, their jerseys were white. They said, "Coach, what is our team?" And he said, "Whitfield White." That was their name.
Serious?
Yeah.
Come on,
She played again the year after that, and they had I can't remember what the name was, but they had an actual name. But so that's not even,
Kylie was once a member of the prestigious Beaverdale Cats.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when I was growing up, because I played softball like my whole life, and it was, but we had a local, like I was maybe the Waffle House one year.
No way.
House.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, just a local business sponsored our shirts. So whatever business picked you up, like you wore their name.
Man, when I was in Little League, my favorite hat, of course, now I hate the Phillies because I'm a Braves fan, right? But I was on the Phillies, and I had a Phillies hat that I thought was just so awesome, and I wore it so it smelled so bad. And then I just wore it out, and it was one of those things where your mama just throws it away, and you don't realize she's done it. I'm still kind of bitter about losing my Phillies hat. But how about Tate and Grayson? They finished the regular season 8-0 and then lost 5-2 in the championship game. So, way to go, guys! And then Abby Daffrin, she was part of the drama crew at Northwest. She won Best Freshman Girl and the Sweet Pea Award. I wonder what the Sweet Pea Award is.
No idea. Sounds cool,
She's just
though.
very nice.
Yeah.
So. And then Rose Barrett, how about Rose Barrett? She won the Generosity Award for her class.
I can totally see that.
Well, here's one interesting thing about Rose. Ever since she's a little bitty kid, she loves Red Lobster. It's like she would come out of the foyer and tell me, I'm going to, and I can't remember how she would say it, but it was almost like rock lobster, because she couldn't get it out right. I bet you she wouldn't share her shrimp. Because she's all into that, right? And so, but she won
Even
the
if it's
Generosity
endless.
Award. Yeah,
Yeah.
even the endless bowl of shrimp.
Which I don't think they do anymore because it about bankrupted the company. But
Yeah, well, they're bringing it back for like.
Are they?
They're bringing it back.
There's boundaries. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're right.
Yeah, see last week's episode.
It did almost
Boundaries.
bankrupt the. Y'all did talk about that last week. It did almost bankrupt the company.
Yeah.
Nicholas Kelly, he apparently he played the part of a pirate in his school play at Cedar Ridge. That fits him pretty good.
That's so cool because remember when he had the eye thing, you had to wear the patch. So he already had the patch for it.
That's perfect. That works out great.
Method acting.
Yeah, there you go. And then Cyrus McGuire, one of our students, competed in archery from Northwest. They competed in Kentucky. That's probably one of the state regional kind of things. But their entire team is advancing to nationals later this summer in Florida. So, way to go, guys. We got some good archers around here.
Yeah.
So, we got some Robin Hoods in the community. And then how about some staff brats? Congratulations to Morgan Branham. She is graduating from Columbus State University with her nurse practitioner, Master's of Science in Nursing degree.
Nice.
Next week. And I know Sophie Korn honors, graduating with honors, Bachelor in Accounting, just like her mama, smart
mama
and
proud.
numbers, right? So way to go, Sophie. And then next year, Will graduate and be able to fix everybody's boat,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, he'll finish up this December, so he'll be in next year's graduation.
Super
Yep.
cool.
Be great.
All right, so Liberty softball finished out the season. First, they won the first game of their tournament against Tunnel Hill, but then lost the second round to God's House. which I still contend that's not really a church. That's like one of those stacked teams. So we're going to find the best players in the area so we can get a game in through the week. We're not really a church. We're just going to call it God's house. Okay, I got you.
I started thinking about the Maxwell House theme song just then, but to the words of like, God's house. Da-na-na-na-na-na, God's house. That is Maxwell House, right? Our house.
No, that's
What is that?
That's a Christian song. Man, what was it called? Gosh, it was back in the because I was in seminary in '95, and that was a big contemporary Christian music song.
And then did Maxwell House rip it off?
I don't know,
Because I feel like that's the only reference I have for that melody.
I can't get it in my head.
I don't know. Help us out in the
But
comments.
yeah, because God's killing me. Because I can remember, man, that was back in the day. Everybody still had the boom box, and there was guys in the dorm that would have their boom box in their window and playing that song, and we thought it was just awesome because you didn't hear Christian music much like that.
Man, I've derailed this conversation so many times already. So props to you for keeping it on the tracks. I'm going to do better in the actual segment.
Dude, and this is even worse. It's the group where the guy, he got caught is all kinds of trouble. Man, Toby Mack was it? Toby.
DC Talk or Newsboys? Which one is it?
It was Newsboys.
Okay, yeah.
They did it. Something about, anyway.
I don't know. Help us out.
Right in.
Yeah.
We'll cover it next season. Anyway.
I didn't know it was going to take a turn.
Sorry, man.
Anyway.
Music trivia moment. All right, so let's talk about some announcements of things going on in the church. Hey, listen, get the Liberty Baptist Chatsworth app. That's the best way to keep up with all the stuff going on. We got some great content on there as well. We've got a series right now called The Missing Man that we've posted 2 videos in that, really just drilling down on the men, how to become better husbands. All the teaching from the Psalm study that we did with men, wrestling into worship, the Ecclesiastes series, just things that drain men. All that great content is on the Liberty app, as well as the sermons from Sundays, all kinds of different information. But here's also some things you'll find on there. Vacation Bible School is coming up June 7th through 11th, Phobia Island, which I think is a great theme. There's so much fear in our kids and our culture right now. Mm-hmm. So I love the theme. We're going to have something for all the kids. We'll have something for students, and then also have Bible boot camp for the adults. So if you really want to take a in-depth Bible intensive, that's what this is going to be. So that'll be going on that week as well, June the 7th through the 11th, from 6 to 8 each night. The women's ministry is doing a project going to serve the local foster families through the Grace and Joy House. So that's going to be on May the 19th. You can bring some food. You can volunteer to babysit. There's a link in there where you can get more information about that. This Sunday is our high school and college graduation. And then right now our students are getting ready for summer camp. They're going to Birmingham to the Generate camp at Sanford. All the details are in the bulletin there, and they're doing the Flamingo fundraiser right now. We got flocked about 3 weeks ago, sent it on to somebody else, and then somebody got flocked this morning. It was actually Paul Gwynn, and he thought I did it. And it wasn't me, Paul. I promise you, man. But it's really cool to see this year how that's caught on, and it's really making its rounds.
It keeps me busy because people are being like, hey, Melissa, what's so-and-so's address?
Yeah, that's what I did. What's the address of this guy that I'm going to flock now, right? So, but that's one of those things I think people are having a lot of fun with, and it's raising a lot of money for our students, which is really good. That's a good segue into our topic, is flocking a church member. Is that gambling? No. But we are going to talk about gambling and investing. We had this sent in as a Truth Over Trends topic. So is there a biblical difference, because both of them involve risk? Man, you can really financially mess yourself up either way. So if there's so much risk in it, and people would say it like this, even in investing, you're taking a gamble. So are both sinful. So let's talk about that, but let's also give this disclaimer. Even though we are highly trained professionals, we are not highly trained financial advisors, right? So this is not financial advice. This is biblical advice. And hey, I would tell you that a lot of people land in a lot of different places on these topics, but man, I believe we're going to give you the best solid biblical counsel that we have on this. So, the thing about the gambling topic, well, I think it's so relevant. It's never been more readily available. I think the same thing with investing, man. Now, I mean, we've got investments. I open my phone, look it up. There it is. Mm-hmm. So we have investments through Acorns and Robinhood, but even on Robinhood, you have these prediction market things where you can buy shares of who's going to win the game tonight. And I think that's a way around the sports betting thing in certain states. But investing is readily available on your phone. But man, the sports betting thing in all its various forms, even in states where it's illegal, there are still ways they do around it. How many points is this guy going to score or whatever tonight? And I know from firsthand conversations, a lot of young guys are gambling a lot of money on the sports betting thing right now. So here's kind of the way I would couch this topic. The Bible, when it comes to I think everybody wants is this a sin? So there are things in the Bible that are explicitly sinful. The Bible has much to say about things that are sinful. Sinful would mean that it crosses God's commands. And righteous, which means that you walk in the ways the Lord wants you to go. These are the righteous paths the Lord has. So there's a difference in sinful and righteous. But we also have to distinguish in the Bible, there's a difference in wise and foolish. Yeah. So wise is, I'm going to apply God's word and the counsel of God's word to these decisions. Foolish is, I'm going to disregard anything God says, and I'm going to do what I want to do anyway, right? Yeah. And while I would say this, foolishness leads to a lot of sinful behaviors. Not every foolish behavior is sinful, but it can cost you. A foolish behavior can cause a lot of collateral damage to a lot of people. You can hurt your family. You can hurt people with words. But one of the interesting things the Bible does when it talks about wisdom and foolishness is foolishness often leads to poverty. Mm-hmm. And so I think whenever we couch the discussion, is gambling right or wrong? Is investing right or wrong? I think we can put them both into the category of applying wisdom and foolishness. And that really kind of gets you tracking on the best things the Bible says in these topics. So this is really a heart issue. So let's talk about, first of all, this idea of wisdom and foolishness. I'll give you a couple of passages as an example. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 11. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, which means if you get rich quick, you'll probably lose it quick. Mm-hmm. How many stories have we heard about people winning the lottery and then they're totally impoverished in a couple of years? Yeah, I say it like this: the same mistakes you make with a little money are the same mistakes you'll make with a lot of money, and that's usually the problem. So that foolishness. Proverbs 21:5. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. Man, somebody who I'm going to work at it. When I preach these passages, I use the term "get rich slow." Yeah. When you just methodically work at it, that's a wise way. Usually when you get rich slow, you appreciate it more. You're wiser in the way that you manage it. And then Proverbs 23, verses 4 and 5, it says, do not toil to acquire wealth, be discerning enough to desist, which I think is a great, wise verse on just balance. And I think that's one of the things a lot of people miss in life and the Bible is the Bible really counsels you to balance. Just be, you don't want to be lazy and don't work at all, but you also don't want to work too much. There's a balance. There's a middle ground. And I'd say the same would be true of the investing and your views of wealth and all of those things. And then here's one of those passages that, man, you could say this could apply to the gambling topic. This could apply to the investing topic because it's a hard issue. And the real question is Is your heart just given to be wealthy for the sake of being wealthy? And verse 17 of 1 Timothy 6 says, as for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertain riches, but on God. Are you trying to be wealthy so that it'll solve all your problems? And if that's what you're trying to do, whether it's through gambling or investments, you're not trusting God. Mm-hmm. And that's really the hard issue. So he says, but to don't set your hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. They are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share. And then earlier on in that passage, he warns about this mentality of wealth, where he says, verse 9, but those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. And listen to this, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. The Bible doesn't say money is the root of all kinds of evil, but the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and have pierced themselves through with many pangs. There's the problem. Let's take the gambling and the investment conversation out of the picture. When you have an unhealthy view that I'm just greedy and want to be wealthy and it's going to solve all my problems, man, your heart can get so carried away with that and you become sinful and foolish in the conversation. What would y'all add to that?
I think you're right, because the money itself is not the problem, but when our heart attaches to it, that is where greed creeps in, where we don't listen to counsel. We want that instant gratification, that we're looking for things to satisfy us that money can't satisfy. None of that can. I mean, money is a great tool, is a horrible savior.
Yeah, that's a good, man. That's a good word right there. So let's think about it like this. If our heart is so prone to get carried away with this, and then we've got these, call them quick money schemes, that are so readily available on our phone, right? Mm-hmm. Even in my investing apps, I mean, every day it's sending me, hey, won't you do this IPO? Why don't you put more investment? You can become a gold member. You can, all this kind of stuff. Why are people so quickly enticed by wanting to get rich quick and these schemes that are on there?
I think it's a way of escape. It gives you control. It makes you feel significant because of that control. But it's almost a way to escape from whatever it is, the stress, the fear, or all the things that's associated with when you don't do it the right way.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you want to compare the two, investing, the investing side of it is you're taking ownership. Like you're becoming an owner of something. But then if you want to take the foolish side of it, if you want to go the gambling route, that there's no ownership.
Yeah.
So I think that gives you that means of immediate gratification and a way of escape.
That's what I was going to say too. On the topic of immediate gratification, you see the same kind of thread running through so many things that people are baited into, and just even the way that our brains are trained to work nowadays with just the immediacy of everything is when you see these schemes and these like get rich quick, gambling methods that are so easy to engage with now. It's really training our brains to react the same way that we've been trained to react and interact with other things too, like online especially, is just instant dopamine hits. What can I do right now that's going to, even if it doesn't promise a return or promise a profit or something like that, how is it going to make you feel in the moment? And I think so much, not on the investing front, but on the gambling and on the scheme front, it's dopamine hits. Yeah. And how can it make you feel in the moment, whether it promises you anything or whether it gives you anything in return?
What's interesting about the prediction markets is it uses the social media mentality of, look at what all these other people are predicting, why not you? Why don't you buy into this? All of these people are going to be successful. They're smart. They've won. Why don't you, And so, man, it just bombards you. So it's really interesting the emotional attachment that there is to it, that sense of adventure, all those things that you guys just named. So let's kind of break down now gambling and investing and what are the differences. Melissa kind of hinted on some of those differences, but let's get a little bit deeper into this. Now, the Bible came long before prediction markets. It came long before FanDuel. There's, so the Bible is not going to really come out explicitly and say this is a sin, right? So if you're looking for that kind of a command, you're not going to find it. But the Bible does give us, this goes back to foolishness and wisdom, plenty of counsel on how to evaluate these things. Gambling profits primarily from loss. Somebody has to lose in gambling in order for somebody to win, right? Yeah. That's a huge proponent or a component of the gambling there. So that's very different than, you mentioned it, creating value. That's very different than building a company. That's very different than owning a commodity. You are wagering on somebody losing so that I can win. There's no prospectus that you can read. It's just a game. I mean, it's a very luck of the draw kind of a thing. Gambling feeds a get-rich-quick kind of mentality. Proverbs 13:11 that we mentioned earlier says, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Gambling is addictive. And I think that's one of the reasons there's explosive growth in sports betting. The accessibility on the smartphone, you talked about the dopamine hits, all these kind of things. Yeah. And man, y'all, I want to read you an excerpt from an article that actually right before we came on here, this kind of popped up and I was like, well, thank you, Lord. You sent me an article to read on here. But listen to this. This is Axios. This is not a Christian magazine, right? These are not preachers talking. These are social commentators. And so it says, Las Vegas has long been known as Sin City for its 24/7 access to all kinds of indecencies. America is quickly becoming Sin Nation. Listen to this. Or as President Trump put it while discussing prediction markets in the Oval Office last month, the whole world, unfortunately, has become somewhat of a casino. Boy, that's a good way to sum it up, right?
That's really sobering. Yeah.
You used to think about Atlantic City and you used to think about Las Vegas as these seedy places where you had the casinos, you had all the sins and indulgences that went around along with that. So if you didn't want that in your life, you just don't go there.
Yeah.
Well, now it's everywhere.
It's right here all the time.
And that's kind of what these guys are saying. So this is what he says, why it matters. Once forbidden vices, weed, gambling, porn, are no longer confined to back alleys or the desert. They are ubiquitous, digital, and spreading at a pace that has been outstripped the country's social and regulatory guardrails. Governments didn't turn a blind eye to most of this behavior. They encouraged it and scaled it in real time. Wow. If you really research this, I'm gonna use a word, but let's just put it out there. Why would the government encourage gambling? Look at how much of the legalization of gambling. It all started with the lottery and all that kind of stuff. It's basically a stupid tax.
Yeah.
If you can't raise the taxes the way you raise the revenue, gambling is the greatest tax on society that there is if you really break it down, all right? And then he goes on to say this. He says this shift in American governance, both at the national and local levels, didn't play all out at once or get kickstarted by a singular moment. It happened in 1,000 small ones, one app launch and a regulatory retreat at a time. So, man, they began to open it up. And then later on, so in the article, he goes down through the problem with smoking weed, through the porn. But listen to what he says about betting. He says there's no reason to visit a sports book when you have one in your pocket. That lack of friction is destroying lives. Yeah. That phrase right there is powerful. That lack of friction. It's so easy. It's so accessible, right? It's destroying lives. He says, and arguably the morality of countless young Americans, even as it fills state coffers. Listen to this. More than half of American men ages 18 to 49 have an account with an online sports book. Half of the men. Shannon was sharing with me an article a couple of weeks ago of how pervasive sports gambling is with young men. Per Siena poll out last month, 63% of bettors said they'd bet $100 or more in one day. 31% having someone express concern about their sports betting, up from 23% last year. So this is exponentially growing. A UCLA study found bankruptcy rates and debt collection amounts rose in states that legalize sports betting, with young men in low-income areas the hardest hit.
Yeah, that speaks to just a certain desperation that people are in, and it's really, I mean, it is kind of on you if you take that bait, but it does go to show just how many people are behind the curtain pulling the strings, trying to lure people in that are in a desperate situation that think, man, if I could just make $100 here or $200 there, I could be better off. And then it's just that same cycle that repeats. Well, if you win, then you're like, man, that felt good.
This could change my life. Yeah. And man, I want you to think about what's interesting because, you know, and gosh, Melissa, I shouldn't say this, but we're the old heads in the room, right?
Thanks.
We're old.
For yourself.
There is a generation rising up that is making me feel more like an old head all the time.
Oh, man. So, but hey, let's go. I mean, the difference, one of the big differences in my generation, Melissa's generation, and your generation, is your generation is the first one economically that they said has not started out better off than their parents did. Man, when I started my life, I was able to start that in a better place way better than my dad's economic situation was, and even my mother's. So I wonder if there's also this chip on the shoulder mentality in the younger generation of, hey, they've cheated me. This is how I get it back, is to get it back quickly. And it does become predatory in that sense on that kind of low-income mentality. One good hit could change my life, right? So, interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think to speak to that, I mean, I think you're right. I think just especially people trying to buy houses right now, if you look at inflation and what it's done over the last 30, 40 years and, you know, what income was required to buy, you know, this type of house with this many square feet, you know, the starting line is here and the goal is here now, whereas, you know, those things were a whole lot closer together, you know, in the 80s or in the 90s. I remember my dad, he bought his first house for $45,000 and he sold it for $50,000. And man, I think he thought he did something. Yeah. And I guess back then, you know, $5,000 went a lot farther than it does now. So, I mean, those are real circumstances that we have to navigate.
And hey, man, you know, gosh, it is tougher economically. I mean, talking about the differences in people starting out. So both of my daughters, so Morgan's house payment, her first house they bought, the payment was more than ours is currently. Kylie paying rent, you know, they just got married last week, paying rent in Nashville. Their rent in Nashville is higher than our house payment. Yeah. And they're I don't know how you do it, but kind of going back to the topic, even in a bad situation like that, foolishness does not dig you out of a pit, right? So, man, you've got to be wise. Even when you've been handed a more difficult start, the wisdom of God's word will work, right? Yeah. So let's get into the investing section. So if both of them involve risk, is there a difference? And the simple answer to that is yes. There's a big difference between the two. Investing does involve risk, but investing is about ownership. You own a part of the company. Yeah. It's a business. It's a production. It's an innovation. It's a commodity. There's real economic activity. You can go read the prospectus. You can make a decision. Man, I think this company's going to go in the right direction. I think it's going to be wrong. They have to file with the SEC to divulge profit and loss and different investments even than they're making. You can get a lot of information. There's always risk, but you can get good information to make as good a decision as you can. In investing, there's diligence, there's planning, there's delayed gratification, there's patience. All the things of the gathering little by little is a part of investing. You know, our investing strategy is we're just going to take a little bit from each check and we're going to invest it in these companies. And that's really kind of helping us in a lot of ways. Investing is not guaranteed, and it can become foolish. One, if you don't have the money to invest.
Yeah.
Two, if you're investing just to try to be wealthy, and it goes back to that first, it's going to 1 Timothy 6, it's going to cause a lot of pain if you let that greed take over your investing mentality. And there's a lot of misguided information in investing, especially in we now call them the meme stocks. You know, man, you invest in this and boy, you're going to be rich in 2 weeks. Boy, that's really, really dangerous. The crypto mania mentality, all these things have fed into this. And so let's look at something the Bible says about investing. And this is a passage that I talked to our men a couple of weeks ago when we were going through the book of Ecclesiastes, because what's interesting about this passage, Ecclesiastes 11, is it says, let me give you some investing advice because life is a lot like this. And in Ecclesiastes 11 starts out like this: cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. Give a portion to 7 or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth. If clouds are full of rain, they are empty themselves on the earth. And if the tree falls to the south or the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it will be. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. Now, if you read that, you're like, I don't see the investment advice there. But here's what it means. One is, cast your bread upon the waters, you'll find it after many days. Give a portion to 7 or 8. That's diversify, right? I'm not going to put it in just one thing, but in a lot of different things. And then you'll find it after many days. Give it time. That's investment advice number 2. I think a lot of people try to time the market. I'm going to buy low, sell high. That's where you make a really, and I've done that, where I learned early on in investing, that's a dumb decision to try to time it every day, look at it every day, get your money in, get your money out. That's just a good way to lose money. Warren Buffett, a lot of people in Dalton, Georgia don't like Warren Buffett because he bought the carpet factories, but we can't argue with Warren Buffett is probably of all time one of the greatest investors there has ever been. And he said this: if you can't give your money time in the market, you're too stupid to invest. That's pretty plain, matter of fact advice right there. But you've got to give it time. And then I love what he says in verse 3, if the clouds are full of rain and empty themselves on the earth. And then verse 4, he who observes the wind will not sow, he who regards the clouds will not. If you're always looking for the perfect time, you'll never do it. And then the other part, if the tree falls to the south or the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it will lie. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I guess that would be the last thing I would say about investing is you can only invest money you can stand to lose.
Yeah.
That's the wisest thing you can say about it. And so if you put all of your future, all of your retirement, all your family's money, and you can't stand to lose it, it's in the wrong place. It needs to be, and listen, there's safer places to invest. CDs in the bank, high yield savings accounts, all those sorts of things. So anyway, there's kind of just some investment advice. And then if you think about Proverbs chapter 25, stewardship, and really this is the mentality that we need in anything we do financially is, one, I don't own any of this. It's not my money. This is God's money. Mm-hmm. That house that I have, God has given that to me. The cars that I drive, God has lent those things to me. I will not take them with me when I die, right? So it's just a temporary thing. But Matthew chapter 25, you've got the parable of the talents. The master comes to one, he gives 5, he turns in 5 more, he gives 1 3, he turns in 3 more, he gives 1 1, he buries it in the ground, does nothing with it, and gives it back to the master. And he commends the one who made the 5 10, the 3 6, right? Well, you think one did less. No, man, they both did the same. They both were wise with what they had.
Yeah.
The guy that did nothing with the one, that was the waste, and it was taken away from him and given to the others. And so I think there's even a mentality in the Bible of stewardship is you need to manage what God has given you. But whether you do it through investment or whatever, you also need to have the mentality, I'm going to multiply.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just going to waste everything that I have. And so, just kind of to round out the podcast here, at what point does investment become greed? Where does that adrenaline that we talked about with gambling, where's the fine line also with investing where people have to watch the heart matter that when it comes to their money? What would y'all say about that?
When greed overtakes our stewardship, or when we allow emotions to make decisions for us, ignore counsel, ignore the wisdom, act spontaneous, that we're not given thought to what maybe come from an action or a decision that we make hastily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of it is because we've talked about the instant gratification before, but a lot of that is emotional driven.
Yeah.
It's that dopamine, it's that adrenaline rush. But yeah, when that overtakes like good decision making, or we allow our emotions to become the decision makers, the highs and lows of it. Warren Buffett also said something that in one interview about people talking about, man, you made a lot of money or you lost a lot of money. And he's like, no, those are just ups and downs because I didn't sell anything, because he's waiting it out. It was wise. That's wise counsel.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be moving it, buying it and selling it. But yeah, and to ignore that, yeah, that's foolish.
Yeah. You go to NVIDIA these past couple of weeks, NVIDIA is one of those things people been like, it's been the hot thing. It's gone from $25 to, I think yesterday was about $220. But if you got in on NVIDIA, which we did, several months ago, 3 weeks ago, that looked like you're losing money.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at it today, you're on the plus side, and it's just waiting it out. You knew it was going to swing back up. So it is just kind of that timing thing. What were you going to say there, Austin?
One thing that I did want to bring up that you sort of touched on when you were talking is just that emotional maturity. My mind kind of goes back to we had a staff retreat back in October, I think it was. We took a couple of days just to look at a lot of things, try to figure out how we can grow individually as a staff. And Lori McAfee helped break a lot of things down for us. And probably one of the main things that stuck with me was when she talked about having emotional maturity. And I think in the last few years, especially since we've been at Liberty, even just a lot of the themes, a lot of the even things that you have preached about, things that we prayed about as a church, has really just kind of caused me to have a little bit of a heart shift in like, am I doing things out of emotional maturity, and where do I lack emotional maturity in my life? And that can be, the way that you treat your family. That can be how you spend your time. That can definitely be in your finances too. And so, I'm kind of in this place where I'm 31. I haven't always made emotionally mature decisions with money, with other things too. But the Lord has really convicted me to look at how can I really take the next step in shifting towards stewardship rather than being selfish and think and acting in my own wisdom or lack of sometimes with what I do. So those things don't get fixed overnight, but if you stay in the Word and if you really follow what the Word says about investing and look at, the fruits of the Spirit apply to anything in your life. And when I think about the difference in these two sort of polar opposites, really, of what we're talking about, of what you can do with money, I want to do the things in my life that really exude the fruits of the Spirit. So, you can tie finances back to love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control.
Yeah, a governing question you could ask comes from two G words: gambling or generosity.
Yeah.
If we go into gambling, whether it's investing, the gamble of investing, if you want to put it in that word, or the gamble of gambling, right? The Bible would have us to be generous. And even when it comes to investing, you got to be asking the question, can I do this and remain generous?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If God called me to give right now, could I still do that? Boy, that's a good governing thing. So I just kind of leave with these financial principles. Let's get away from the gambling and investing things. Let's go to first things first. One, you got to have a budget. Mm-hmm. The very first wise financial thing anybody can do is spend less than you make, right? And one of the reasons most people get into financial trouble is just because they don't know how much they're making and they don't realize how much they're spending. A budget begins to reveal that. So you got to have a budget. Number two, you got to have a savings plan. You need an emergency fund. Man, there's something, one of the things the Bible does tell you right here, things are going to fail. The tree's going to fall. And when it falls, you got to deal with it. It don't matter which way it falls, but it's going to happen. Can you pay for that car repair without putting it on a credit card? Can you get that dishwasher when it blows up and you got to go get another one without having to get into more debt, right? So that's where we want to be is our emergency fund. You sure don't want to gamble your emergency fund. You sure don't want to invest your emergency fund. That needs to be liquid cash you can get your hands on quickly. So build a budget, have an emergency fund. Then you begin saving, right? You begin saving for your vacations. You don't want to put a vacation on a credit card. You don't want to do things like that because then that vacation becomes exponentially more expensive. All you're doing is paying for that vacation all year long now. Mm-hmm. So you begin to invest in those or to save for those kind of things. And then you begin to save. And this is where the long-term investment strategies come in. My retirement, my future, taking care of my family, right? All these kind of things. But man, that question of generosity ought to really govern all of it because what God wants is for us to have joyous and generous hearts when it comes to our finances. And if finances is always stressful and it's always a burden in the home, boy, that can take away the joyous and generous heart. It's also something that you need to, going back to something you said, it's something you need to talk about as a couple. Shannon's measure of risk taking is a lot lower than mine. Dude, I can take a risk, I can give it away. But she's in a very different place. And so we never make an investment. We don't spend large amounts of money without talking about it and coming to a consensus so that I don't just do what I want to do. She doesn't just do what she wants to do. And I know there's a lot of people out there who ask the question, well, do y'all have joint bank accounts? You better believe it.
Yeah.
Our names, we're married, y'all, you know? So it's not my money and her money. It's not my investments and her investments. It's our retirement. It's our savings. Mm-hmm. It's our budget. And I think in a marriage, if you have two different financial strategies and people are going in different, and you can't come to consensus on those things, you talk about killing joy and generosity right there. Yeah. So that'd kind of just be the landing place for me on this topic. What would y'all, just in last words, what would you add to that, Melissa?
As you're saying that, all I'm thinking is that last cow that I bought.
Your investment is in farm animals.
And talking about the discussion that me and Joel had when it came to that, but we agreed on it. I did not make that without him. But no, we do everything together. And I think you're right because, biblical wisdom isn't about anti-risk. The biblical wisdom that we gained is anti-foolishness. And
That's great.
One of the biggest things that we could do that would be foolish in a marriage situation or a home is because it's to think that the decisions we make don't affect everybody.
Yeah.
That it's just about us. And when one of the, if you want to say, the fruits of greed would be that self-centeredness, almost to the point of where we make something else an idol and we take that focus off of it. But yeah, so my biggest thing would be the counsel, the wisdom, to say I'm huge Dave Ramsey, so I love the budget. I love assigning where my money's going to go and not the money telling me where it's going to go. I always would love to counsel anybody who doesn't know where to start.
Yeah.
I think that's the first place to start, is to know exactly what your financial picture looks like, because you can't make those decisions if you don't know. That is a gamble in itself.
Man, when I do marriage counseling for a couple, the very first thing the very first appointment, we talk about a budget.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is you can reveal a lot about communication issues. You can family backgrounds. By them having to work through a budget, you reveal a lot of things you got to talk about before you get married, right? So even in a marriage, man, a lot of people are under so much stress in a marriage. When you start making a few little cuts and the month is not as tight, and then you have a little bit of savings, it's amazing how that begins to change the attitude even in the home.
Oh, yeah. And then that overflow. Look at, we just finished our 90-day challenge. Look at you want to talk about the generosity, what the difference it's made.
Yeah.
So, you didn't talk about this in your recap, but even the generosity, how it overflows once those changes are made in the home and how you view things. Like, I've had people start serving in my ministry. I see this because I'm the financial secretary, but I have people who have just started giving through this 90-day challenge that are now serving outside of just sitting in the sanctuary. So things like that, that's the fruit of the generous heart.
It's the joy of generosity, man. It's fun, you know, when you can be generous.
Yeah.
So Austin, what would you add as a last word?
I feel like these days, a word that the Lord brings to my mind a lot is legacy. And, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, like I haven't always done everything right, and I've got a long way to go yet before I can really leave the legacy for my family and my kids' that I want to leave for them. But I'm grateful that the Lord has brought that to my mind, and He's even convicted me of some things that, where He's basically said, hey, you need to start doing this if you want to end your life well. And I think about, I can't remember exactly which verse it is in Ecclesiastes that talks about the end of a thing is better than the beginning of a thing.
Yep.
But I think about that a lot nowadays. I think about, as morbid as this sounds, someday when my children or whoever reads my eulogy at my funeral, like, what are they going to say about me? And how am I going to, what shape am I going to leave them in? Am I going to be somebody that's remembered as someone who stewarded what God gave me well, and don't leave my family in a mess to figure things out and sort through this, and how are we going to, reconcile that? Or is it going to be something that is easy for them to take on in a time where things are already difficult? And so I don't think about it just from the standpoint of my own funeral, but it really does. It really is about your heart.
That's good.
And
intentionality.
And
you got to envision your future. Yeah.
I am grateful that the Lord has revealed that to me at this point in my life. And so I'm trying to do the things, and I know that there are probably a lot of guys and ladies who are maybe my age, somewhere around there, that are realizing that now. So I would just encourage, like you guys have said, just to stay the course and just invest a little bit. I think about how I got myself into situations and how I should get myself out of those situations. And really, how I got myself in is how I get myself out. It was anytime I made a bad investment or did something that I really regretted, it was just one thought or one step at a time that got me there. And so you really kind of have to walk your way out of the woods the same way that you got in, just one good decision every day. Wake up and ask the Lord, what should I do today, to get myself and my family in a better position than I was yesterday. So it's not about us. And that's the last thing I would say, just on the leaving a legacy note, is just, it's not about you. Yeah. It's about how you can worship God with what He's given you, and how you can bless those around you that God has given you in your life.
Yeah, I love what you said. How do you get out of a situation? You get out of a situation the same way you got into it.
Yeah.
Daily, consistent, directional decisions. Mm-hmm. I always talk about, I got it from a book, 1,000 Little Choices. That's the way you got into it, it's the way you get out of it. Same way. It's really good counsel. Well, that's a wrap on the season. And y'all, I'm going to give you a little bit of, as we close, just kind of a insight behind the scenes thing. It is amazing the great concentration of Austin and Melissa in this episode, because I don't know if you can hear it. But in this episode, we have also had birds. We've got birds that are built in the corner, and they're as loud as they can be. We just had, as Austin is pouring out his heart about finances, we just had the trash guy slamming the dumpster. And I mean, we can hear it as loud. I don't know if it'll come through on there, but I'm thinking, wow, Austin is doing awesome.
We have a pretty good audio system that sort of drowns out the bad stuff and tries to capture the good. But at some point, man, you got to hear a vroom, from a mower or something.
It's sort of like, Austin's like, man, this is the way you really change. Well, ba-bam, ba-bam, change your family's like, ba-bam,
Hey, if that's not a metaphor for drowning out the noise in your life and all the stuff that tries to get your attention and your time, man, I don't know what is.
And y'all, I'm going to tell you, man, so we got a strip of grass.
We are grateful for the trash people.
Right here in front of the church. And I could probably, and with my lawnmower, I could probably go over it
30
2
seconds.
times. I swear it must be like 30 acres, because they've been mowing that strip of grass the entire time we've been.
I kept waiting for the weed eater up against the metal building, but when the dumpster started, I couldn't make eye contact because we'd have had to cut.
I was about to laugh as well, but hey, we made it all the way through season 3. So we will take a break for the summer. We'd love to hear some suggestions on what season 4 needs to be like. Every season's been a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
We've done everything from game shows to interviews to big topics and discussions.
Just don't make us like blend up a Big Mac and drink it or something.
Absolutely
nothing gimmicky like
I'm
that.
None of
that
that
one.
taste stuff.
No
the hot chip thing.
Youth group
no.
games. Can't do that, man.
Yeah, we're going to keep that with Levi in that department up there. But if you do have a suggestion, let's go back to the app, Liberty Baptist Chatsworth app. Same way you watch the podcast, same way you can make a suggestion. It's all right there. So thanks for being a part of this season, and we will see you about late August to beginning of September for season 4 on Live at Liberty. We'll see you then.